gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center?
It was the Stanford Research Institute that certified in 1964 weaponization of weather through chemtrails and other systems under Dr. Ben Livingston, who first blew the whistle on our show. One approach is to insert scatterers into the atmosphere, states the article. Caldera cites an idea to deploy jumbo jets in the upper atmosphere and deposit clouds of tiny particles there, such as sulfur dioxide, dispersing around 1 million tons of sulfur dioxide per year across 10 million square kilometers of the atmosphere would be enough to reflect away sufficient amounts of sunlight, he wrote. Experiments similar to Caldera's proposal are already being carried out by the U.S. government-backed scientists, such as those at the U.S. Department of Energy, DOD, Savannah River National Laboratory in Aiken, South Carolina. We have links to all of this, who in 2009 began conducting studies which involved shooting huge amounts of particulate matter, in this case, porous walled glass microspheres, into the atmosphere. The project is closely tied to the idea by Nobel Prize winner Paul Crutzen, who proposed sending aircraft 747s to dump huge quantities of sulfur particles into the far reaches of the stratosphere to cool down the atmosphere. In 2008, scientist Tim Flannery also warned that mankind might need to pump sulfur into the atmosphere to survive, adding that sulfur, giant gas sulfur, could be inserted into the Earth's atmosphere to keep out the sun's rays and slow global warming, a process called global dimming. And funny, since they started this in 1995, you can go look where they started the test. Not test, it's a global program, bigger than Manhattan Project, that the Earth has dimmed 22%. In fact, while I'm searching that, I don't think Paul linked to it, type in global dimming, and then click on BBC, and it says 22% over Europe, and then 30% in other areas of the world. But overall, it's over 20. Continuing, such programs merely scratch the surface of what is likely to be a gargantuan and overreaching black budget funded project to geoengineer the planet with little or no care for the unknown environmental consequences that could engender. Well, it was admitted to be national security in the 90s when they did this. Given that sulfur emissions cause global dimming, is it any wonder, oh, Paul did link to it, I thought I didn't read that the emergence of the chemtrails phenomenon coincided with the average 22% drop in sunlight reaching the Earth's surface. What is known about what happens with the environment is loaded with sulfur dioxide is bad enough, since the compound is the main component of acid rain, which according to the EPA causes acidification of lakes and streams and tributaries, to damage of trees at high elevation, for example, red spruce trees above 2,000 feet, and trees are down all over Hawaii, all over California, all over everywhere. And many, and the arborists and experts are out saying it's aluminum and stuff, and many sensitive forest soils. In addition, acid rain accelerates the decay of building materials and paints, inducing irreplaceable buildings, statues, and sculptures that are part of the nation's cultural heritage. That's nothing compared to our brains, ladies and gentlemen. That's the real crime here. The health effects of bombarding the skies with sulfur dioxide alone are enough to raise serious questions about whether such programs should even be allowed to proceed. The following health effects are linked with sulfur: neurological effects and behavioral changes, disturbance of blood circulation, heart damage, effects on the eyes and eyesight. But bigger than that, this is about testing a global secret program to test agents and cadres by spying on their phone lines to see who will be part of other programs to spray chemical and biological agents that are more deadly, which we know are also been declassified tens of thousands of times, generally by fixed-wing aircraft at low altitudes. This is a government that takes foster kids and radiates them to death on record. Oh, but they wouldn't do this, though. Continuing, reproductive failure, this is what sulfur does. Damage to immune systems, stomach and gastrointestinal disorder, damage to liver, kidney functions, hearing defects, disturbance of the hormonal metabolic system, problems with the skin and dermatology, suffocation and lung embolism. Now, that's nothing. Because then page after page gets into aluminum. It gets into, oh my God, oh boy, it's bad. According to the Lintech website, laboratory tests with test animals have indicated that sulfur can cause serious vascular damage in the veins of the brains, the heart, and the kidneys, especially when inhaled. These tests also have indicated that certain forms of sulfur can cause damage and birth defects in babies. Mothers can even carry sulfur poisoning over to their children through mother's milk. Finally, sulfur can damage the internal enzyme systems of animals. Even pro-geoengineering scientist Mark Watson admits that injecting sulfur into the atmosphere could lead to acid rain, ozone depletion, or weather pattern disruption. And again, they just say, oh yeah, we've been doing some tests for the Earth. Nothing to do with that. Rutgers University meteorologist Alan Roebuck also created computer simulations indicating that sulfur clouds could potentially weaken the Asian and African summer monsoons, reducing rain that irrigates the food crops of billions of people. State Department Memorandum 200. That's what this is all about, population reduction. Imagine if we triggered a drought and famine while trying to cool the planet, Roebuck told a geoengineering conference last year. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, we tried to cool the planet and shut off the Africans' water, or the Texans' water. The Canada-based Action Group on Erosion, Technology, and Concentration has called for such experiments to be shut down. The experiment is only phase one of a much bigger plan that could have devastating consequences. And what has Bill Gates invested $5 billion in? He has invested $5 billion in deploying all of this. He wants government contracts, including large changes in weather patterns such as deadly droughts, the group said in a written statement. Fred Singer, president of the Science Environmental Policy Project and a skeptic of man-made global warming theories, warns that the consequences of tinkering with the planet's delicate ecosystems could have far-reaching dangers. Why are you worried? Our own government and the Russians as well detonated high-powered H-bombs in the upper atmosphere, blowing holes in it in the 60s. Why stop? They're playing God. Don't get in their power trips way. If you do this on a continuous basis, you could depress the ozone layer and cause all kinds of other problems that people would rather avoid, said Singer. Well, like cutting carbon dioxide plants breathe? Don't tell the globalists that. Even Greenpeace chief UK scientist, a staunch advocate of man-made global warming explanation, Doug Parr, has slammed attempts to geoengineer the planets as outlandish and dangerous. Stephen Schneidler of Stanford University, who proposed a bizarre plan to send spaceships into the upper atmosphere that would be used to block out the sun, admits that geoengineering could cause conflicts between nations if geoengineering projects go wrong. Oh, yes. As we have reportedly highlighted, numerous universities and government agencies have been conducting studies in the field of geoengineering for years. Well, of course, the Pentagon could control hurricanes, Stanford Research Institute certified by 1964. But, oh, it doesn't matter. Here's Wikipedia. They say it's a conspiracy theory. Wikipedia still says it's a conspiracy theory that global government's being set up, even as it's admitted. I'm not going to have time to read all of this. It's so huge. One arm of this system, the Atmospheric Radiation Measurement Arm Program, was created in 1989 with funding from the U.S. Department of Energy, DOE, Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and is sponsored by the DOE's Office of Science and Management by the Office of Biological and Environmental Research. But that's okay that we have links to the government admitting it, because they say it's a conspiracy at Wikipedia. Again, announcing anything the government doesn't want out, even if it's admitted in plain view, is not allowed, because they control reality. They said so. They're the government. Oh, yeah, Wikipedia, sure. One of ARM's programs, called Indirect and Semi-Direct Aerosol Campaign, is aimed at measuring cloud simulations and aerosol retrievals. And they test the aluminum dioxide and everything else in the sky, and they've got the patents on mixing it in with the jet fuel. Another program under the Department of Energy's Atmospheric Science Program is directed towards developing comprehensive understanding of the atmospheric process. Oh, it just goes on and on with all the admissions, and the global dimming, and the Council on Foreign Relations calling for global, unilateral, whether you like it or not, global weather manipulation. It's about the global bankers. Goldman Sachs has come out. and others. And they're developing on the Chicago Mercantile, where if you don't pay your IMF and World Bank bills, third world country, they shut your water off with this. All the leaves are brown and the sky is gray. Even in the summer now here in Texas. There aren't as many insects around the country as there were a few years ago. The bees are all dying. Some areas, they're all dead. They're genetically splicing every species, playing God, and then lecturing us all day about how we need to pay Al Gore and Lord Rothschild and others carbon tax money. And this article Paul put together, I contributed some, so he stuck my name on there. He gets into the Council on Foreign Relations, geoengineering workshop on unilateral planetary scale geoengineering, where they talked about chemtrailing. They don't call it that. They call it geoengineering. And, of course, it's exactly what the conspiracy theorist tested 15, 16, 17 years ago. Then they've got KSLA News. They've got universities and the government of Louisiana. They've all gone up and done their own test and said, yes, barium salts, aluminum dioxide, sulfur, at levels in some cases hundreds of times safe, but generally, let's go over it. A KSLA TV investigation found that substances that fell to Earth from a high-altitude chemtrail contain high levels of barium, 6.8 ppm, and lead, 8.2 ppm, as well as trace amounts of other chemicals, including arsenic, chromium, cadmium, selenium, and silver. Of these, all but one are metals. Some are toxic, while several are rarely or ever found in nature. It goes on to say in the newscast that barium, which is in research is the hallmark of chemtrails, they found the samples were, again, more than 6 times the toxic level set by the EPA. And they've got reports out of poison control. They've got university studies, state studies. And a lot of scientists are going, yeah, there is something going on. What are you doing? And it's exactly what's being done on these programs. And it's huge. Again, ladies and gentlemen, there's more going on than Justin Bieber. There's more going on than football. And it's exhausting fighting as hard as I do. It's exhausting reading all this. I don't want to do it. I want to have a softball radio show and talk about mindless issues or take your phone calls. I can't. And I can't mince words. I can't back off. I can't not tell the truth. I've got to warn people. It talks about all the horrible things aluminum's doing to people. It goes over why they're doing it. It's global government. It's population reduction. It's playing God. It's being able to shut down water supplies to entire regions, entire continents. This is an incredibly well-researched article. I only read about half of it. It's up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com right now. And undoubtedly, I see that each one of our tweets has been retweeted by hundreds and hundreds of other people. It won't say the actual number. It says, our latest tweet, help us expose chemtrails and geoengineering. Go to Infowars.com, was retweeted by 100 plus. If others retweet that, even if they block us out of the top rankings, it will reach a lot of people, and they'll say, what's chemtrails? What's geoengineering? What's Infowars.com? I have children. A lot of you have children. The neurological disorders, just type into Google, neurological disorders exploding. I mean, it's just everywhere. The level of metals in people's brains. It's in the food, the water, the deodorant, the cosmetics, and now they're spraying it on us. The life expectancy's now dropped in the U.S. It's plunging in other areas. This is hardcore what's going on. All right. I've just done 2 hours of ranting information, trying to wake people up desperately. We're going to come back with hour number 3 and take nothing but your phone calls, I promise. I promise we'll do nothing but your phone calls with interspersed news, technically. But I'm going right to your calls. Stay with us.